Welcome back to the vlog. This is day number 13 in Texas. We are up $4,492. I can't believe it, man. We're back at Poker House. We're back in the streets. Let's go! Showing up to Poker House Dallas, ready to grind. We are in for $500, battling in the 1-2 streets. Let's get right into it, everybody. Ace King offsuit in middle position. There's a $5 button straddle, and there's 2 limpers over to me. I'm going to raise it up to $30, and we get looked up by the button and early position player. We are headed 3 ways to a flop in between 2 opponents. The flop comes down 9-6-5 with 2 clubs and a spade. The player in early position has been action. He's been in a lot of pots. He's been making a lot of crazy plays. And this is the player you want to get in pots with. So he bets out into the field for $30, leading into the aggressor. Obviously, Ace King is not going to be good too often on this board. But against this specific player, I think it's a mandatory float here. We have a couple of backdoor draws, and we could definitely bluff on some runouts. So I stick in the call, and the button likes what he sees as well. He's going to come along to the turn, which comes the 9 of hearts. It eliminates all backdoor opportunity for us. But when the early position player checks to me, I'm going to check it to the button, who quickly checks it around. So we're going to get to see a free river card, which is the brick of all bricks, the deuce of hearts. And the action, luckily, is going to check around again on the river, and we're going to show down our ace high and win this pot. Ace King high is going to take it down. We got a clean run out from the dealer to give us a nice $213 pot for the first hand of the session. Now remember how I told you that guy was crazy? Well, this next pot is going to be against him as well. Here at Poker House, every dealer change, you do a $5 double board bomb pot. So here we have Jack, deuce of diamonds in the bomb pot. The boards come tremendous for us. Ace 10-3 with 2 diamonds. We flop the Jack high flush draw. And the second board comes 6 deuce deuce. We flop 3 of a kind on that board. So when the action gets to me, I'm going to bet out into the field for $20. We get looked up in 2 spots. My strategy on these double board bomb pots is most of the time you're going to have a really strong hand on one of the boards, sometimes the nuts. And if that's the case, you want to build the pot on the flop and turn, and then basically steal it on the river. You want to try to push your opponents off a chop if you only have 1 board locked in. The turns are beautiful. The 3 of clubs and the jack of spades. We improve to a full house. We still just have a jack high flush draw on the top board. But once again, the action's going to check over to me. I'm going to bet out for $35. Again, we're building that pot. If we miss our flush draw on the top board, we want to build that pot so we can bet very, very big and steal it on the river. But we get looked up by that player I was telling you about, the action player in the small blind. I've seen him play a few double board bomb pots, and he really doesn't like to fold if he catches a piece of 1 board. That's definitely something to note, especially when the river comes the 5 of diamonds and the 7 of clubs. We drill our flush, so we have a jack high flush and a full house. This is a dream scenario for a double board bomb pot. When he checks over to me, there's $175 in the middle, and I have about $440 or so behind. I think against a normal player, I would put out a value bet, and like I said, I like to bet really big when I'm trying to steal 1 board. But this specific opponent, I think, will call me light. Like if he has a 3, or even if he has a hand like ace 7 or ace 6, and he has a piece of both boards, I think he's going to find a call here. So I go for a massive overbet. I go all in for $440. That's right. It's impossible for us to be beat on both boards. And he thinks about it for a moment before calling us. We show him we got a flush and a boat, and he shows us 10-6 for just a pair on both boards. Wow, an absolute dream spot for us. We went for maximum value and we got it. Scooping in an over $1,050 pot. Always nice when you acquire some green chips early on in the session. This next hand happened shortly after that bomb pot. That action player goes all in blind for $50. And you know what I like to say, you got to give action to get action. I just basically stacked this guy and I definitely want to give him some action back. So I say I want to put the call in blind. So that's what I do. I put the $50 in blind. There was an early position limper and he decides to come along as well. We're not going to look at our hand until we see the flop, and we're going to go to a Queen Jack 9 rainbow flop. We finally look at our hand, and we actually have a premium Ace King. Obviously not too good for this board, but we do have a gut shot to Broadway, which would be the nuts. The early position player bets out into me for $50, and I think we definitely have to put in the call here. We have 2 overs and a gut shot, so I'm not going to go anywhere. I stick in the call. And remember, he knows that I'm blind, so I could have any 2 cards in this scenario. The turn card comes the 9 of diamonds. And now the early position player bets the same bet, $50. Now, you've probably heard me talk about this before, but when players do this, it screams weakness to me. Betting the same bet on multiple streets typically is a medium to weak hand, like 1 pair, and we have a blind range, meaning we could have any 2 cards, so I have more 9s than he does. That turn card is going to be better for me, and I think if he has like a weak queen or a jack, he would definitely fold to a raise here. Also, he could have some kind of draw, which we would definitely benefit by putting max pressure on those hands. So I'm going to put in a raise here. I'm making $165. Early position player doesn't go away. He puts in the call. So we might have to put in a bet on the river here to steal this one. The river card is pretty bad, the 9 of clubs. The reason this is a bad card is because the odds are that we have a 9 is now decreased, and if he has a hand like a queen, he is never going to fold here. But forget folding, he lead rips it all in for $600, and I'm sitting here with ace high. I'm definitely not going to call. I fold my cards, but the worst part about this hand is we don't get to see what he had because the other player who was all in blind mucked their hand. So they both ended up mucking their hand. We don't get to see what they had, but nice hand to that guy. This next hand, we get a little bit out of line. I'm on the small blind with king 8 of spades. There's a button straddle on, and it folds to me. I'm going to be raising this one. I make it $20, and we see a 3-bet from the button to $55. King 8 suited, out of position, 3-bet pot. Those are 3 things that just don't mix well. Now, I'm going to share with you guys a tip that I recently shared on my Discord. The link is in the description if you want to go check that out. But when you're facing 3-bets from the big blind or the straddle, players who close action, it's going to be much stronger than the typical 3-bet, say from the small blind, because this player has the option to close the action. Typically from these positions, you want to have a polar 3-betting strategy, meaning you're going to have the very top of your range or the bottom of your range. So 3-bets coming from the big blind in the straddle are going to be much stronger than normal, especially in live cash games. Also, just one more thing to note, this guy was literally racking up his chips and this was his last hand. So I don't know why I put in the call here, but there's literally 5 signs to not call here. Anyway, I put in the call like a psycho, and we're going to go to a flop, which is pretty good for us actually. Ace Jack 4 with 2 spades. We flop the king high flush draw. I check it over to my opponent, and he decides on a big bet here of $90. When I call pre-flop and flop a draw like this, I feel like we just have to run it. I think jamming here could definitely give us some fold equity against a hand like pocket kings, pocket queens, and maybe even like ace 10. He doesn't really want to stack off. This is his very last hand, so we might be able to take advantage of that. He doesn't want to lose all of his chips, so that's what I do. I put him to the test. I go all in, and he snap folds. We get one through, but watching this back and making that play is definitely minus EV, guys. But we're still going to take that one down regardless. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody gets out of line, but it's nice to look back and learn as much as you can from them. Moving on to pocket 4s here. We're going to try to flop a set. The low jack makes it $15. The high jack calls. I put in the call, and the button and small blind do as well. Multi-way pot here. Let's see a 4 on the flop, and we do. It's 8-6-4 with 2 hearts. We flop bottom set. Action's going to check over to the low jack, who goes all in for $90. Pretty good looking spot for me so far, and the high jack puts in the call. We cover everybody that's in the hand, and it's about $300 or so effective for us. We have bottom set. It's a draw heavy board. We want to try to get it in now and deny equity. So that's what we are doing, everybody. We stick in a big stack of green chips and say all in, covering everybody at the table, and the action quickly folds to the hijack, who puts it in. So we're going to be going 3 ways all in a little over $760 pot. The hijack shows us a flush draw. I can't see exactly the cards he had, but he does have 2 hearts, so we're going to have to fade him here. The turn is the 10 of diamonds, river card, king of hearts. He hits it. We are going to lose this pot on the river. Sometimes the rivers are hot and it doesn't go your way, but don't let that get to your head in the session. If you let hands like that get to your head, oh, I could have won this, oh, I could have won that. If that river card was a blank, if that river card was don't do that. It'll mess with your game. It'll make you play worse. You'll make plays like, why would I do that after the session? Try to control your tilt, take a deep breath, and get back into action. Pocket 10s here. We are against our best friend, Funky Punts. He's another poker YouTuber. Go check him out. He's in the hijack, and he makes it $15. Going to be 3-betting this against him for sure. I'll make it $45, and the action folds back around to him. He decides to wager all 300 of his chips. And I guess I could say I basically snap called him. Reason being, I know he's going to have a lot of bluffs here, especially against me. Against the average player, I would probably think about it for a little while, but 10s is going to be ahead of his range definitely a lot of the time. He's going to have some ace queen, ace king, ace jack suited. He posts a lot of hands like this on his vlogs, so you guys should check that out, but I stick in the call. We're up against ace king. It's the classic flip, basically a coin flip. If you want to be that guy that comments 53-47 in the comments, you do that. But we're going to go off to a run out. He asked me if I want to run it once or twice, and I say 1 time. Let's go. Max Payne for the vlog. The flop comes 10 queen 9 with 2 diamonds. We hit a set, and he's drawing very slim just to a jack. The turn card comes pretty juicy. It's the king of diamonds. Now I'm proving him to a flush draw, so any jack or diamond will give him the winner. The river card is the 7 of clubs. We fade everything. So nice. We're going to scoop a $600 pot, unfortunately, against our good friend. But we're friends off the table. Once the cards hit the felt, once you're sitting down, we are enemies. We're at a pretty fun table. The straddles are going. The chips are flying. Here we are on the straddle with 7-6 offsuit. The button limps, and the big blind makes it $15. Going to defend for $10 more in position on the razor. So that's what I do in the button calls as well. We're going to a magnificent flop. Ace 6-6 rainbow. We have a very disguised trips. and it could be likely that the big blind has a good ace. So when he leads out for $25, the board is so dry, I don't think there's anything else to do but call. So that's what I do. I stick in the call. The button gets out of the way. So we're going to go heads up to a turn card, which is the queen of clubs. He bets out now for $50, and I think we have to go for a raise here. We have to get that money in all the way. I don't think he's ever going to fold an ace here on the turn. So we're going to try to get all the money in on the river. I'm making $130, leaving him with about $250 or so behind, setting up a nice river shove for us. And he doesn't think about it too long before sticking in the call. So I think his hand is pretty face up here. He has an ace, and hopefully he can pay us off on the river. River card comes the jack of clubs, brings in a backdoor flush opportunity, but it's essentially a brick. I don't think there's any flushes he would have played this way. So when he checks it over to me, we are going to go with the plan, all in for $250 effective. And I think it's going to be difficult for him to fold an ace here, but he decides to fold his cards. Not sure if he had an ace. I assume it's likely. But nice fold from him, and we are going to show him the 7 of clubs. Maybe we backed ourselves into a flush. Keep our opponents wondering what we had. And we're scooping in that pot. Let's go. Once again on the straddle, this time on the button, meaning we get ultimate last action here at Poker House Dallas. I have ace 4 offsuit, and there's 4 limps. Going to see a flop, which comes ace 8 3 rainbow. We flop top pair, and the action is going to check over to me. I'm going to make it $10, and we get looked up by 3 players, going 4 ways to a turn. Speaking of 4, it's the 4 of hearts. Beautiful card. We improve to 2 pair, and the action checks over to me once again. I'm going to size up a little bit here, 65 in the middle. We make it $40, looking to get looked up by any draw, any ace, maybe a sticky 8, we will see. So I make it 40, and we get a call from the big blind. So the pot is brewing. Hopefully, we can put some more money in the middle here, especially when the river card is the 4 clubs. We improve to a full house. A very welcome sight in my eyes, and he checks it over to me. We're going to continue with about the same size here. $105, 2/3 of the pot, trying to get him to call with his ace, but the big blind decides to muck his cards, and yet again scooping in a nice little pot here. We've had this hand a few times already. Big Slick in the straddle again. I know, we're in the straddle almost every time it feels like, but we have Big Slick, and there's 2 limps from the blinds. I'm going to raise it up to $25, and we just get looked up by the smallest one. The small blind puts in the call. We're going to go heads up to a flop, which is 6 deuce deuce with 2 clubs. The small blind leads out now for a nearly pot-sized bet for $50. He probably knows that I just have a lot of air here, but 6 deuce deuce isn't going to hit the small blind too hard either. Obviously, you can have some lower pairs like 3s and 4s, but ace king is definitely going to be the best hand here. A decent percentage of the time, in my opinion. And we have some backdoor flush opportunities. We can bluff on a few runouts. So I'm going to stick in the call here, put in the float. The turn card is the 10 of hearts. Now the small blind decides to put on the brakes and check it. And in game here, I decided to go for a 25% pot size bet. A little stab here on the turn. I made it $40. Now, looking back, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think it's fine because it's basically going to give us a free river check back rather than checking back the turn and giving our opponent an option to bluff the river. And then we have a sticky decision on facing a big bet. This will get us to the river cheaply because I think the ace king is going to be the best hand here a lot. We can charge his draws and get called by worse hands and then check back with our showdown value on the river. I think a check back is fine here too. We definitely just want to get to showdown. But in the moment I decided to bet 40 and the small blind comes along and we're going to see a river card, which is the king of hearts. We improved to top pair. We are definitely not checking back. When he checks to me, we're going to put out a wager here. We're going to try to target a hand, maybe like a 6 or pocket 5s. So I put out a really small bet of $55, but the small blind does not oblige. He folds, and that makes me think that we had the best hand, but we can never know for sure. Stack is looking pretty good today, everybody. Session is going pretty smooth for us, and we look down at ace-queen suited on the button straddle once again, and there's 5 limps to me. Everybody's just trying to see a flop for $5. That's not how it works when I'm sitting at the table. We are going to raise it up here, pump money in the middle, $40 to go, and we get looked up by 1 player in the small blind. So we're going to go heads up to a flop, which is ace 8-8 with 2 diamonds. Good looking flop for us. Now the small blind leads into me for $75. He has about $175 or so behind. I think we just want to get it in here. If the small blind had an ace and let out like this, I don't think he's going to be folding for the rest of his stack. If he has an 8, so be it. He's going to get my chips. And if he has a flush draw, we definitely want to charge that. Get the maximum. The small blind will basically never have ace king here. Just limp calling a raise seems very unlikely. So we're going to put him to the test, all in for $250 effective. And he does decide to come along. He sticks in the call. We're going to go off to a run out here. Turn card comes the 4 of diamonds. Not loving that one. Now we lose to flush draws. River card 4 of spades. We're going to show our hand, and we're going to win against ace jack. A beautiful situation for us. Dream spot. we get the max value from the next best hand possible. I'm happy I decided to get it all in on the flop because that turn definitely could have been an action killer. We are running pretty good today. You guys gotta come check out this place, Poker House Dallas. It is the dream spot to play Texas Hold'em. I promise you that. Once again, we are in the straddle. We're battling the blinds, battling the straddle. We have 7-3 of hearts and there's 3 limps to me. I'm gonna check my option to a flop of Queen 7 deuce with 2 diamonds. We flop middle pair. The action's going to check to me. I'm going to put out a bet here. There's only 1 overcard. We got to thin the field. I think checking is fine too, obviously. But I put out $5. We get looked up by the small blind in middle position. To a turn card, we go. Unbelievable stuff, guys. The 7 of clubs. We're running like fire today. The small blind player leads out into us for $40. Now, this is a little bit scary because our kicker is not great, and this is definitely one of the tighter players at the table. So I'm going to tread with caution here. Definitely not folding, though. I put in the call, and we're going to go heads up to a river card, which is the 5 of spades. Happy to see the flush draw miss. Now he bets out for $100, and I'm not going to be folding here. He could definitely have some queens. I want to bet this river, and I don't know. I have trips. If he has it, he has it. I put in the call, and he does in fact have it, but it was so close. 7-6 offsuit, but his kicker is going to play. If the river card was any other card than a 6, 4, or 5, we would have chopped this pot. We kind of got rivered there if you think about it because he only had 11 outs to win. The rest of them would have been a chop, but we can play a few more hands here. Ace Jack, we get it all in pre for about $50. And we're going to lose to Ace Deuce. Pretty sick there on the flop. We c-bet 5-4 suited in a single raise pot and take it down. Moving on to the last hand of the night. We have Ace Deuce offsuit on the straddle and there's 4 limps. Going to check my option to an Ace high board, Ace 7-4 with 2 spades. The action's going to check around on this flop. Turn card comes the Jack of clubs, and now I decide to check it once again, and it gets to the middle position player who decides to bet out for $15. Definitely under-rep my hand at this point, so I'm going to stick in the call and see a river card, which gives us 3 of a kind. It's the Ace of diamonds, a pretty good looking one for us. I definitely could see myself leading on this card sometimes, maybe getting value from a Jack, but I check it over to him, and he bets out the size of the pot for $55. And just like the last hand with 7-3, I'm not going to be folding this river card, so I quickly put in the call, and we are going to lose to the big slick. He definitely slow played that one, limping pre, checking flop, and a good river card for him to get paid off. So nice hand, man. Pretty sick spot there. 2 in a row, trips, and we lose to the kicker. So sick, man. Why do we play this game? We are into that game for just $500. Always love to see it. Out for $14.05, so a profit of $905. Appreciate you guys watching this video. Click that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next vlog. Peace.